Hi everyone, this is Sarah. I hope everybody is having an excellent day. So a couple stories. One, something that personally happened to me today, and then one that I'm about to talk about. So the first story is not something that happened recently, but something that continues to help women and also boys and men. So it's a good act that came about in 1972. And the reason why I'm talking about it is, one, I'm in education. Two, I have been a student athlete. And three, the woman who I'm about to talk about died over this past weekend at the age of 90. And her name is Dr. Bernice Sandler, and she's considered the godmother of Title IX. And like I said, she died over the weekend at the age of 90, and they call her that because of her work in advocating for women's and girls' rights in education. So she embarked on a campaign, decades-long campaign against sex discrimination in academia, which she started advocating in 1969, and this led to the passage of Title IX, which bans sex discrimination in federally funded educational institutions. She was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame in Seneca Falls, New York in 2013 for all of her efforts in advocating for rights, as well as being the godmother of the Title IX law. So the reason why she started down this path is she received her doctorate in the School of Psychology and counseling, and when she was trying to get a job in the 1960s, late 1960s, she was met with sex discrimination. She applied to 7 different teaching positions at the University of Maryland, and she didn't get any of these jobs. And when she was interviewed by the men that were interviewing her, they told her that she was too strong of a woman for these positions. So she decided that she was clearly being discriminated against because she's a woman. And at the time, there was no federal law prohibiting discrimination against women in education. Now, there was an executive order by President Lyndon Johnson that prohibited any organization that received federal funding to discriminate against women, and this included any public university. So she ended up joining something called the Women's Equality Action League at the time. She founded a one-woman committee called the Federal Action Contract Compliance Committee that challenged over 250 academic institutions on the basis of sex discrimination. And they also coordinated a massive writing letter campaign. And then she ended up working for the House Subcommittee on this issue, as well as the Health, Education, and Welfare Department. And Title IX passed on June 23rd, 1972. The other thing to note is that it does apply to boys and men when they are being discriminated against. One of the interesting things that I read was that, and you can look up this as well, this article was from the New York Times, was that they compared the number of women athletes in different Olympics throughout this time frame from the time that this Title IX was enacted in athletic events. And because of Title IX, the number of women athletes has grown, and equality has become better for women in athletic events. It's also used for other things in education. So you should, if you're interested, you could look it up. But I just found it really cool. And I definitely feel like it is one good act that's continuing to help women as well as men and boys that are being discriminated against in any institution that receives public funding. And then the other just funny thing that happened today, so, excuse me, I had to bring my cat Bunny to the vet and just for checkup. And when I brought him home, I got into the elevator and held the door. One of my good acts for the day held the door open for a woman who was carrying a couple bags of groceries. And when she got in, she had an accent. It sounded European, maybe Russian. And she noticed that I had this big, large carrier, and then a cat was meowing. So she looked into it, and she just started speaking like Russian to my cat Bunny, but it was this very loving tone, kind of like a babushka, like meowing, the cat's meowing, she's talking to the animal in Russian, and just like this really, it's kind of like, you're such a sweet kitty, but in Russian. So it was just really lovely, and she was just very nice, and just nice, being nice to people today. So anyways, that's your good stories for today. I hope you have done something nice for people today as well, and have done one good act, even if it's a small one. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.